Hey, aloha everybody, Nick Ponte here, and in this video, I'm going to share with you how you can get your business found on Google without being a tech wizard. And so I'll be doing my best to simplify a lot of strategies and tactics that we implement throughout our agency so that anybody, regardless of if you're experienced or if you're a new business owner or just thinking about starting a business, you have the opportunity to really understand how you can get more visibility, more customers, and more sales through your website. So again, how do you get your business found on Google without being a tech whiz or wizard? For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Nick Ponte. I also go by Dada. That's a picture of my daughter Ava and I. I'm born and raised in the island of Maui. I enjoy business as my primary hobby of choice. I'd probably say surfing second, and recently picked up golfing, or trying to pick up golfing. In 2015, I went from being a mechanic to getting my first client online. And so my primary trade was working on cars for a living. One day, I came into the office. I saw my boss. He was visibly frustrated at his desk. I asked him what was up. He said, "Hey, I'm working on my website, but I don't really know what I'm doing." For some reason, I said, "I think I can help you with that." Now, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I thought to myself I could figure this out. And so, I got to Google and I helped him with his website, and that just planted the seed. It gave me an idea that there might be other business owners here in Hawaii that might be interested in getting some help with this, and this might be something that I can do on the side. And so, fast forward to 2016, I started my company, Myna Marketing, and still just client after client growing by helping people solve problems online, like the website example. And in 2024, just last year, we rebranded to Myna Marketing, and were recognized by Pacific Business News as the second fastest growing business in Hawaii. We've helped over 500 local businesses grow their online presence. I've got a bunch of the brand names here. There are many others, of course, as well, but a lot of them are locally based throughout all of the islands. And primarily, I would say 90% of our customer base are here in Hawaii. Some other achievements I've made throughout my career: I was nominated as one of Hawaii's Business Leaders of the Year. I've also got 3 ClickFunnels 2 Comma Club awards. You get one of these awards every time you create a marketing promotion that generates over 7 figures in sales using their software. So I've got 3 of these. And I was also featured in publications like Forbes, Inc. magazine, and business.com for various digital marketing strategies that I have created and implemented because they've worked really well and generated some significant results. Now, who is this presentation for? This presentation is for those who are looking for more website traffic and visibility. You are, as I mentioned previously, a business owner or a soon-to-be business owner. You might have a brand new skill set to this, or you might have some experienced skill set, but this is by no means an exhaustive training on how to get higher rankings for your website, because in reality, the rabbit hole is far, deep, and wide. But in this video, my goal is to give you some actionable steps that you can take so that beyond this, you can get some website visitors and traffic to your website. So why do we want to be found in Google? Just to zoom out real quick, the overarching goal to be found in Google isn't just to be found in Google. We want to get more customers, right? So they say the best place to hide a body is on the second page of Google. And the reason being is because when is the last time you have looked for something in Google and scrolled to the second or third or fourth or fifth page to pick the result that you're looking for? Almost never, right? So anybody who is not on page 1 for their primary search term is generally missing out on all of the business. And so nobody wants to go to page 2. If your business is on page 2, you got to do everything you can to get it out of page 2. So the overarching goal is to be found in Google so that we can get more customers, right? And with that being said, we have a lot of people that come to us and they ask us to help them get more visibility in Google. And oftentimes it's interesting because not everybody benefits equally from high visibility in Google. And I'll give you some examples of that. So the people that benefit the most from showing up in Google are people where their primary customer avatar really lives within Google. So if you're a jewelry company, for example, if somebody is looking for a very specific bracelet or necklace or a pair of earrings, chances are they're not going to go to Google and type in best bracelet, right? Chances are they're probably looking through bracelets and jewelry on social media. They're looking for the images, they're looking for the videos, or they're looking for the influencers that are wearing these brands that they like the look of and then they purchase, right? Whereas, if you have a water pipe in your ceiling and water is leaking down, the first place you're going to go to find a plumber to fix that is not Instagram, right? You're going to go to Google, you're going to type in plumber, Maui, or wherever you are, and you're going to pick the first person that comes up. And so the plumbing company or roofing company or a lot of home service-based businesses, their primary avatar, aka customer, lives within Google. So in this example, the roofing or the plumbing company are the ones that are going to benefit far more than the jewelry company for showing up in Google. It doesn't mean that the jewelry company shouldn't have a Google business listing and have a website and all that stuff. They totally should. But should they focus their efforts in Google to generate traffic or website leads? No, I would focus other places. So ask yourself, is Google right for your business? And I want to simplify some tech jargon that we are going to be talking about throughout this presentation. So for those of you that don't know, search engine optimization, SEO, is the process of getting your website higher up in those search engine results. And pay-per-click advertising is the process of turning on an ad campaign where you pay to be there, and every time somebody clicks on your ad, you get charged. So Google ads, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, those are all called PPC or pay-per-click advertising, PPC for short. So those are some things that we're going to be talking about. By the way, this is a picture of our team and I in our office in Honolulu for our company retreat last year. We do these every year. So the primary methods to get found on Google are, I've already mentioned it, organic SEO and paid search and Google ads. And so where are the pieces of real estate where those can be found? So I've done a little search here. I got the image on the left. I Google search roofer Maui. You can see that here in the top left corner. Now the first thing that shows up is the sponsored section. These are actually Google ads. These ones right here. So people are paying to be in this spot. Pretty cool, right? You can pay and you can show up at the very top results for your target keyword. Now, the next section is called the map pack. Now, these are businesses that have a Google business profile within Google's system. And so you see these businesses in maps. When you use their app, you see them. Lots of times, these sections rely on proximity. And sometimes you'll even see this one it's a sponsored section. It's a sponsored listing. That means this person's paying to be here as well. So sometimes Google will be sneaky and sneak a little ad in the map pack as well. But these are here organically. They're here because they were optimized for this search term. And then at the bottom of this, you have what's called the organic top 10. I only have the first place here because I couldn't fit them all in this image, but there are 10 more businesses below this that make up the first page of Google. So top 10, right? And obviously, the closer you can get to being number one, the majority of the traffic you are going to get. I think they say something like the person in position 1 gets 60% or more of all the search traffic that is searching for this keyword. So that means position 2 and 3 are kind of splitting the rest, and people beyond that are really kind of getting the cookie crumbs of all the rest of the traffic. And so the two biggest mistakes that I see business owners make with their search engine optimization is having low website relevance or ignoring or not even optimizing their Google business profile. And bonus mistake number 3 is not building their online credibility. So I'm going to go over all of these 3 things and give you some actionable steps, kind of the inverse correlation, so that not only will you not make these mistakes, but you can optimize to do even better out of the gate. So low relevance. What is website relevance? Well, if your website is about roofing, think about that for a second. Everything on the actual website itself should be about roofing. I have this little word cloud where you can see all of the words, right? Metal, leaks, contractors, shingles, repair, roof, garage, handyman. all of these words are really associated with that topic of roofing. What you don't see here is a bunch of terms about surfing, right? Surfing has nothing to do with roofing. And so if your website is about roofing or home services, make sure all of the content, all the images, any videos you have, everything that is on that website is related to roofing. And the more and the better and the more effective you can do that, the more Google is going to think you are relevant for this search term, roofing. Even better if you're trying to rank for a term like Maui roofing, where you have that geographical keyword added to it, you should also have that relevance of your location. So why are we a roofing company on Maui? The best types of roofing on Maui, are they weather related because we don't have snow here? Do we have a special type of shingles? So on and so forth. And so this is going to help you rank for your specific keyword. Now, I have this little diagram here, or this image here, because I wanted to help explain for people that don't understand this, how Google finds out about the relevance of your website, because it is an important thing to consider as you get into the mindset of how to make your website rank a little higher. So Google does not see the same thing we see when we load a website, right? We load a website and we see all these images and it's very easy to navigate. It's built for the design of it. But when Google finds out about your website, they're actually crawling, also known as reading. When Google reads your website, they're crawling every single page that they can find. So they have what's called crawlers, or some people call them spiders. They're essentially AI bots that will read every single page, and then it'll figure out what it's about. It will save that information to their index, and it will mark it down for what that page is about. And so the better your website relevance is, again, the more you're going to show up for your target keyword and search term. So just keep that in mind when you're building your website. A lot of people think that just having an image of roofing is going to make people think that or Google is going to be about roofing. But if your website only has images and there's no words on it, it would be almost impossible for Google to give you a high relevance for roofing, because there's nothing to actually crawl. The only thing for it to crawl would be the titles of the images that you have uploaded. And of course, you should label those in relative to your keywords and the different pages. But chances are, if you're in a competitive industry, you're going to need more than just images on your website. You're going to need actual content that is valuable to the reader to establish that relevance. So we have a guy, I wanted to give you this example because it explains what not to do. So we have a guy who came to us who was selling beef jerky. He had a blog about MMA, and I think he had some tips on how to fish. And so this is diluting the overall concept of what he's trying to do with his website. His website is really about beef jerky. He's trying to sell these little thin, dried beef chips, as they call them. It's kind of a trend here in Hawaii right now. They're really, really good. He's trying to sell this beef jerky, right? This dehydrated beef jerky. But he shouldn't have the MMA blog or the fishing tips on the blog. It's actually diluting the relevance of the website. If he just focused on the beef chips and had the best, most relevant website for the beef jerky, the dehydrated beef chips in Hawaii, if he was trying to get visitor or customers here, then Google would be putting him in the category of being much more specific to beef jerky. Adding the MMA relevance, mixed martial arts, the fishing tips, that's just going to dilute and make Google confused. Is it going to start to make him show for the mixed martial arts stuff or maybe the fishing stuff rather than just the beef jerky? So if you have a website and you have multiple things on there that are not related, I suggest you build another website and you just pick one and you focus on the one topic. And so here are some website elements that can be optimized. And so imagine your website is like a school report that you're turning in. You want your teacher, who is Google, to understand what the website is about. You want it to be fast. You want them to give you a good grade and show it to the class, which means rank it high. So here's how you make your website, also known as your report that you're turning into Google, super clear. You want to make sure that the page titles incorporate your keywords, right? The page titles, the title tags, these can be optimized for your relevance. The meta descriptions are like the blurb on your report. You can optimize these for your keyword relevance. The headings, these are the headlines of each section of your website should also be optimized for relevance. And when I say this, I mean, adding variations of your keywords. If your website is about roofing, again, you wouldn't want to have headings that are about fishing. So make sure it's all in unison. And these are different pieces of your website that you can take advantage of to add relevance. I've already mentioned that you can rename the images that you upload to your site, which is great. You can have FAQs on your website explaining more about your products. And also, probably the biggest piece, especially when it comes to doing local SEO, is really the written content. I can't stress this enough. A local website, which is a website that is ranking for a specific area and a keyword, should always have at least 500 words of content on the page. Because again, if Google doesn't have any content to crawl, it's not going to know what you're about. And so, these days, content is a lot easier to create because you have AI. People make the argument whether or not AI is rankable in Google or if they penalize it. I can tell you right now that they don't penalize it. I can tell you that from what I've seen, human content gets good human content, it has to be good, gets a higher ranking score than just, run-of-the-mill AI content that might not be really optimized for the actual reader. And so if you're not good at writing, use AI to write, and then go ahead and proofread and edit that content and then post it to your website. And remember, all of these pieces that I'm showing you here, these are all things that you can do right now to your website to optimize them for relevance. So you can signal to Google that you are about these different things. So here's an example of what it looks like when you establish relevance. So what you're looking at here is a chart of a business that we do search engine optimization for. And so when we started working together, this is a keyword, Maui air conditioning. And so down here at the bottom, you have the date, right? This is February 21 all the way to August of that year. I don't know if it's this year or last year. I think it's this year. And Maui air conditioning is ranking number 50 when they came to us. So that means if you went to Google and you typed in Maui air conditioning, you would have to go all the way to page 5. So you'd scroll to the bottom, click all the way to the number 5, and then you would see their business show up. So as an air conditioning company who wants to sell AC installations, they're not going to get very much traffic. So they came to us to see if we could help them. Now, once we started working with them, we quickly were able to get them some good ranking improvements. So they went from 50 to, I don't know what that jump is, probably 25. So they went to page 2. But the point I'm trying to make here is that slowly over time, we made incremental improvements to their relevance. And you can see these little jumps are the changes we make. And this is Google crawling the website, picking it up, and seeing if the website is more relevant for this term now. So when people search Maui air conditioning and they are now in the second page, are people actually clicking on it, or are they clicking on it less? Because if they're clicking on it less, they're going to put them back down to page 5. But if more people are actually clicking on it more and they're spending some time on the page and maybe they're sharing it with other people, then they're going to start to say, oh, they're actually more relevant for this term because people are searching Maui air conditioning, they're clicking on this site, and not only are they staying on the site, they're consuming the information, and we know this because they're spending time on the site. And so over time, you can see this process is called split testing. Google split tests to see if you are actually relevant for the terms. And over time, you can see the changes we make. Google does the split testing, and they slowly increase their ranking. And so the thing that I want to point out about this graph is that SEO clearly takes time because we are at the mercy of Google, right? We tell all of our clients that SEO is a marathon, not a sprint. But the benefit is that over time, people are now organically going to find this business for Maui air conditioning, and they're going to get a steady stream of customers and traffic and calls, and as long as their product is good and their website is nice, installations. And so that is why people work on their search engine optimization. That is why we are all here, to learn how to get more traffic, get our website found in Google, and to get more customers. And so here's another example of a shorter timeline. This is a company called Crank Maui. On Maui, it's a bike shop. And we optimized here for the term Maui bike rental. So when they came to us, they were in position 6 down here at the bottom. And again, over time, we established relevance. Google did its thing. It split tested, and it slowly walked them up until they were the number 1 spot for Maui bike rental. So, is this valuable to this business? Of course. If they're a bike rental company and they rank number 1 in Google for Maui bike rental, they're going to get more customers and they're going to be able to grow their business. So how do you know your website is optimized well? I've kind of already given that information away, right? You're going to see that your website is slowly improving in ranking. So if you go to your phone, I don't recommend using your phone over and over the same browser to go look for your business and see if you've jumped up in the search results, because when you use the same browser over and over, it's going to favor the business that you frequent or the website that you frequent. So I recommend, if you use your phone, go in incognito mode at least, or use a different browser that you don't normally use, and then go in incognito mode, and then go search for your business and see where you're ranking. If you don't want to do that and you're actually getting serious about optimizing your site more, you might want to invest in a tool to help you track your rankings. The tool that we use here is called SERP Robot, and you can just plug in your website and your keywords, and you can monitor their ranking. It does it automatically for you over time. That way you can have a steady pulse on what your keywords are actually doing, and if the optimizations you make are working or they're not working. And this tool is like $5 a month or something like that. So you have higher ranking, and your bounce rate for your website is low. So what is a bounce rate? So if somebody searches Maui Roofing Company and the first website that comes up is you, and they click on that and they go there and they see that the website is about landscaping, they're going to hit the back button on the website, right? So that's what's known as a bounce. That is a negative ranking signal. If you have a high bounce rate, meaning if people are searching for your keyword and they're telling Google when they land on that website, they don't get what they're looking for, like you're not relevant for roofing, because if you were relevant for roofing, then they would stay there, they would go to the different pages, they would watch the videos, they would fill out the contact form, they would do all those types of things. And so if they're not doing that and they're going back, then they're telling Google that you're not relevant for that term, and Google is going to move you down the rankings. So having a low bounce rate means you are relevant for the terms that you are trying to rank for. Now, in order to improve your bounce rate, I created this little graphic to help you get into the SEO mindset, because it really helps to think about your website in this way from the user experience perspective. So imagine someone is searching for gold. That's your product or your service or your information that you have on your website. They find your treasure map, which is your website. If your map has the right clues, the keywords that the people are searching for, you can call the clues the keywords people are searching for. If it clearly shows where to go, the website is easy to use and navigate. It actually leads to the treasure they're looking for, which is giving them the product or service or the product that they want. They're going to be happy to use the website. They're going to be happy to share and tell other people about your map too. And so creating your website and thinking about how to optimize it and improve your bounce rate is really getting in this SEO mindset of making your website a treasure map and user-friendly and high value to people who are searching for your keywords and the type of topics that are related to your business. So again, when you're mapping out your website, you're creating content, you want to make sure that your website is easy to use, easy to navigate. We have a predisposition to use and consume websites in a certain way. And what I mean by that is when you load a website, your eyes immediately scan from the top down, maybe even left to right, kind of like a book. What your eyes don't do is, or your brain doesn't do this, is scroll to the bottom of the website and then start looking for your place to start learning about this website, right? You know automatically that the menu of the website is at the top. And so there are some main key design elements that are important to have on your website that people are accustomed to using in navigating a website. So you want to make sure that you look at your website through this lens of, is my website easy to use? Is it user-friendly? Does it give the person who's visiting the information they are looking for right away? Or do they have to scroll to the bottom of the website to actually figure out what this is about? Because if they can get that information right away, your main headline at the top of the page is a good hook that grabs the reader and brings them in, then they're going to stay. And so that really is the goal, So get in that SEO mindset when you're thinking about your business. Now, the second biggest mistake that I see people make is ignoring or not optimizing their Google business profile. And I saw this stat the other day, and it kind of blew me away. Approximately 56% of businesses do not claim their Google business profile, which is a huge, huge missed opportunity. And Google business profile is actually the rebrand. It used to be called Google My Business. Now it's called Google Business Profile. But let me share with you why it's important to claim your Google Business Profile. Number one, when you claim your profile, you get a pin on Google's map. And so the map portion that I showed you, the piece of real estate in Google search results, the map, it actually relies heavily on something called proximity. So if you are in Maui and you are searching for the best pizza restaurant, Google's going to go out there and find those relevant websites and businesses that are in the area that are pizza restaurants and try to show them whatever ones they are closest to first. And so you can make improvements to your Google business profile to tell Google that you are in that area. And the first step of explaining to Google and showing Google that you're in that area is actually claiming your listing on their map and getting the pin. The next step is putting your name, your address, your phone number, and your website on that listing so that you can give it more information about your business. And we're going to talk more about that. I'm going to tell you more about how you can optimize your Google business profile. But essentially, a Google business profile listing allows your business to appear in the top of search results when potential customers search for your products and services in the area. And so optimizing your Google business profile is not overly complicated. And this stat, I should add, 56% of businesses have not claimed their GBP, is wild. And the way that this happens is that Google finds out about your business, whether it's from the DCCA, which is where you register your business, or they buy up different databases of information. And people will also add your business for you to the map. They will say, hey, I went to this restaurant in this area. This is what it's called. And Google will just add a business there. Now, in that scenario, your business is actually unclaimed, meaning it's there, but no one owns it, and there's only a minimal amount of information, which is, again, a huge missed opportunity, because when you do claim the listing, now you can add images, you can add your address, your phone number, you can get reviews, you can post on it like social media. This image here is of our business posting weekly or daily images and information about our products and services. You can see the hours of operation, and then you can see the different profiles that we have that are integrated and connected, our LinkedIn, our Instagram, our Facebook. And this is important because, again, when we're establishing relevance to our websites, the bigger a splash you can make, the more relevant you are for a topic, right? So if you have a Facebook page, an Instagram page, a LinkedIn page, a YouTube channel, a Yelp listing, all of those have your website linked to it, then, again, going into the SEO mindset, when Google crawls these pages and they see you're all interlinked, this is going to signal that you are a healthy business. You're not just some fly-by-night business that somebody created, like a bot created, and you're not actually operating. No one would go through the time to creating all these things and creating such a footprint, and you wouldn't have all those signals of trust of people going to the website, searching for it, staying on the site, sharing it with other people. All these things matter and signal to Google that you are healthy and fresh and relevant. And so at a bare minimum, claiming your Google business profile, filling out all the information that it gives you and asks you and offers to you, your category, your business category, your hours of operation, your address, all that stuff. You should take advantage of all of that. And if you just do that, you're going to be ahead of 56% of the other businesses out there, right? So go ahead and do that. Now, bonus mistake number 3 is not building online credibility. So Google values trust and credibility. And so if people trust your business, they're going to signal to Google that you are trustworthy, healthy, and other people should use you. And therefore, Google is going to reward you with that by showing you higher up in their search results for different search terms. And so one of the best ways that Google deems you trustworthy is by asking the community. We all use businesses every single day. When we have one that we love and we enjoy their product, we go to Google, we write a review. And if somebody steals from us, we're going to go to Google and we're going to write a negative review. So Google is kind of really reliant on this peer-to-peer recognition to help identify who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, in simple terms. And so what I would encourage you to do is have a system in place to ask every happy customer for a review. If you can, and you end up in the unfortunate situation where you have an unhappy customer, try to turn that unhappy customer into a happy customer. See what you can do to fix the problem and, turn it around before they leave you a negative review, because negative reviews do hurt you. Now, they're not the end of the world. If you only have negative reviews, obviously that's not good, but Google also realizes that people are going to get a bad review every now and then, right? So it's not the end of the world. But the way that reviews really impact things beyond just the trust and the recognition from Google is the social proof. When people go and look your business up and they read your reviews and they see all of these bad reviews, well, then they're probably not going to book a surf lesson with you. If all they see are great reviews, then they're going to be very happy and probably optimistic in booking a surf lesson with you. So that is why you should ask every customer for a review, and you should also respond to every single review. Now, these reviews that are in Google, they are relevant as well, right? If all of your reviews are about surf lessons and how people have a great time, and all of your responses are about taking pictures and sending photos and having great surf lessons, this is going to add more relevance to your bucket of how Google sees your business. Think about your business as a bucket. Everything that goes into it is kind of like that word cloud that I showed you of the roofing company. Everything related to roofing falls into that bucket. Google's going to make you more relevant for roofing, for surfing, for kayak tours, whatever it is. So another way that you can build your online credibility is partner with other businesses or do things to reach out to other businesses to build what are called backlinks. So I have this little diagram here on how I'd like to explain backlinks to you in a simple way. So if you imagine your website is like a lemonade stand. Now, if all the other kids on the block started yelling and telling everybody like, hey, that lemonade stand has the very best lemonade, you guys need to go check it out, that's essentially like getting a backlink on the internet. So a backlink is when another website puts a link on their page that sends people to your website. So Google sees this, they think, wow, if lots of good websites are pointing at Nick's site, it must be helpful and trustworthy. So the more good backlinks you can have, the more Google likes you, and the higher your lemonade stand or your website is going to show up when people search for you. And I should also add that not all backlinks are created equal. Some are actually better than others. And so I'll give you an example of that. Websites that have been around for a long time, that have lots of traffic, that have lots of backlinks themselves, are going to be more powerful than businesses or websites that are brand new that don't have any backlinks. So to elaborate on that, let's think about Home Depot. Home Depot is a massive company. Think about how many people visit their site on a daily basis, how many people link to their website, so they have a really strong signal to Google of being trustworthy, relevant. Their industry, their bucket is full of home service related topic, relevance, and authority. Now, if Home Depot says on their website that Nick has the best roofing company on Maui, and they put a link to my website, that is going to be a massive signal of trust and authority in the home services niche to my website. In fact, it would be, if I got that backlink, it would be an absolute game changer, almost an immediate number one ranking for any kind of home services industry related term you could have, because arguably Home Depot is like the number one behemoth you could have as a trust and a sign of trust. They don't give out backlinks, by the way. So this is like totally hypothetical. And so I'm saying this example and I'm sharing it with you so you can understand from like an exaggerated version of it. So you want to try to find websites that have lots of trust, lots of authority. And even if it's just a little bit, that's helpful. Every single one does help, but the more valuable, the more trustworthy, the more valuable they are. And so how can you get backlinks from people? Well, a lot of people will write on their own website. Like for me, for example, maybe on my blog, I will create valuable content about roofing, different types of shingles, my products and services, why they're so valuable, how I can, create valuable content for people in this industry is going to be the way that people go to my site and want to share it, So that's what you got to consider when you have beautiful products, great services, great images, a website that provides a value, a service, or that people want to talk about. Then they're going to make a recommendation. They're going to give you a backlink. They're going to share. And oftentimes people do kind of like manual outreach, and they will reach out to people in their area that have a website in a similar industry and say, I wrote something that's valuable to your audience. If you like, I'd be happy to send it over. Maybe you could share it as a resource. No worries if not. Some people buy backlinks. I'm not telling you what to do, but you can. So you want to try to build as many backlinks as you can so that you can signal to Google that you are more trustworthy. And so I've given you some ways, pretty much the main ways. Again, it's not a fully exhaustive course and training on how to optimize your website. Our SEO service actually deploys hundreds of different ways to rank your website. But if you just did the things that I give you, again, you're going to be way ahead of the curve. And these are all things that you can actually do without having a technical skill set, right? You're just taking advantage of the different opportunities that are available to you. And so I did want to make a mention for those people that maybe don't have the time to invest in learning search engine optimization, or maybe they're doing that, but they would also like to go a little faster. So for those of you that want to show up in the first place of Google tomorrow, you might want to consider turning on a Google ad campaign. And so there are two important things to know and expect when planning your website traffic strategy, right? SEO is a very powerful strategy organically. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It takes time. And it is very valuable. People will find you over and over and over again through the test of time. But Google Ads can be set up right away, and you can pay to play. And so the benefit is that, rather than investing all that time and energy, you could just pay a little bit of money to Google and turn on an ad campaign, and it could be set up right away. And so you do not have to be super experienced to run a very basic Google ad campaign. If you want to have a really optimized, specific Google ad campaign, it does take more work. But Google does have a beginner ads product called AdWords Express. You can set up a low budget campaign. You can even schedule a meeting with them to build your campaign with you if you wanted to set up a low budget Google ad campaign. And so I have a little exercise here for people that are considering what service they should focus on for their own business. Is it SEO or is it paid traffic? So I want you to ask yourself this, how soon do you need customers? Because people come to us all the time and they're like, hey, we need to get some business right now. Like we need to pay the bills and we're having trouble keeping the lights on. Well, for those people, I'm not going to recommend they start learning how to optimize their website because I've already shown you it takes time for Google to pick up the results, split test you, I would recommend for them to maybe do some Google ads, turn on a Google ad campaign. They can get some traction relatively quickly. And if they can, maybe do a little bit of both. Get the best of both worlds, where you can turn on your Google ad campaign right now and then start optimizing your website in the background so that over time your organic traffic starts to take the place of your paid traffic, and maybe you can just turn one off. Or you're making so much money from both of them that you keep them both on and you get the best of both worlds. But really, when it comes to figuring out which way you should navigate through getting more traffic and getting found on Google between organic and paid, these are the questions that you need to ask yourself. And so here's a quick recap. Know whether SEO or Google Ads is right for your business in terms of wanting to get your website found. Make sure your website is relevant and optimized. Claim and optimize your Google business profile. Make sure to build online credibility with reviews, backlinks, and fresh content. And then, one takeaway from this video that I can leave you with is, write down one thing you can apply today to improve your online presence from today's presentation. And, if you want to get more help with this, or you just don't want to deal with it and you want to have a team of experts just handle this stuff for you, well, then go to our website, MynaMarketing.com. Again, we work with a lot of businesses in Hawaii. We'd love to hear more about your story. Just head over to our website, MynaMarketing.com, hit the Get Started button, and a person from our team will be reaching out, and we'll talk more about how we can help you get higher visibility in Google through one of our services. We offer Google Ads, SEO, and a bunch of other things as well. But I hope this video was valuable for you and you got something out of it. And happy optimizations and ranking. Aloha.